Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi şrah li sadri ve yessir li emri vehlul ukdeden min lisani yefkahu kavli. Selamun aleyküm ve rahmetullahi ve berekatuh. Inshallah we will start with the 22nd word.
The 22nd word, first station, in the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. So God sets forth parables for men, so that they may bear them in mind. Such are the similitudes which we propound to men, that they may reflect. One time, two men were washing in a pool. Under some extraordinary influence, they lost their senses, and when they opened their eyes, they saw that it had transported them to a strange land. It was such that, with its perfect order, it was like a country, or rather a town or a palace. They looked around themselves in complete bewilderment. If it was looked at in one way, a vast world was apparent. If in another, a well-ordered country, and if in another, a fine town. And if it was looked at in still another way, it was a palace which comprised a truly magnificent world. Traveling around the strange world, they observed it and saw that creatures of one sort were speaking in a fashion, but they did not understand their language. Nevertheless, it was understood from their signs that they were performing important works and duties. One of the two men said to his friend, "This strange world must have someone to regulate it, and this orderly country must have a lord, and this fine town an owner, and this finely made palace a master builder. We must try to know him, for it is understood that the one who brought us here was he. If we do not recognize him, who will help us? What can we await from these impotent creatures, whose language we do not know, and who do not heed us? Moreover, surely one who makes a vast world in the form of a country, town, and palace, and fills it from top to bottom with wonderful things, and embellishes it with every sort of adornment, and decks it out with instructive miracles, wants something from us, and from those that come here. We must get to know him and find out what he wants." The other man said, "I do not believe it, that there is a person such as the one you speak of, and that he governs this whole world on his own." His friend replied to him, "If we do not recognize him and remain indifferent towards him, there is no advantage in it at all, and if it is harmful, its harm will be immense. Whereas if we try to recognize him, there is little hardship involved, and if there is benefit, it will be great. Therefore, it is in no way sensible to remain indifferent towards him." The foolish man said, "I consider all my ease and enjoyment to lie in not thinking of him. Also, I am not going to bother with things that make no sense to me. All these things are the confused objects of chance. They are happening by themselves. What is it to me?" His intelligent friend replied, "This obstinacy of yours will push me and a lot of others into disaster. It sometimes happens that a whole country is laid waste because of one ill-mannered person." So the foolish man turned to him and said, "Either prove to me decisively that this large country has a single lord and a single maker, or leave me alone." His friend replied, "Your obstinacy has reached the degree of lunacy, and you will be the cause of some disaster being visited on us. So I shall show you 12 proofs demonstrating that this world, which is like a palace, and country, which is like a town, has a single maker, and that it is only he who runs and administers everything. He is completely free of all deficiency. This maker, who does not appear to us, sees us and everything, and hears our words. All his works are miracles and marvels. All these creatures whom we see, but whose tongues we do not understand, are his officials." First proof. A hidden hand is working within all these works. For something which has not even an ounce of strength, footnote, this alludes to seeds which bear trees on their heads. For something which has not even an ounce of strength, something as small as a seed is raising a load of thousands of pounds. And something that does not have even a particle of consciousness, footnote, this indicates delicate plants like the grapevine, which themselves cannot climb or bear the weight of fruits. So throwing their delicate arms around other plants or trees and winding themselves around them, they load themselves onto them. And something that does not have even a particle of consciousness, the grapevine, is performing extremely wise and purposeful works. That means they are not working by themselves, but that a hidden possessor of power is causing them to work. If they were independent, it would necessitate all the works which we see everywhere in this land being miracles, and everything to be a wonder-working marvel, and that is nonsense. Second proof. Come, look carefully at the things which adorn all these plains, fields, and dwellings. There are marks on each telling of that hidden one. Simply, each gives news of him like a seal or stamp. Look in front of your eyes. What does he make from 1 ounce of cotton? Footnote, this indicates a seed. For example, a poppy seed like an atom, the kernel of an apricot stone, and a tiny melon seed, produced from the treasury of mercy, woven leaves finer than broadcloth, flowers whiter than linen, and fruits sweeter than sugar, and more delicate and delicious than sweets and conserves, and they offer them to us. Look in front of your eyes. What does he make from 1 ounce of cotton? See how many rolls of cloth, fine linen, and flowered material have come out of it. See how many sugar delights and round sweets are being made. If thousands of people like us were to clothe themselves in them and eat them, they would still be sufficient. And look, he has taken a handful of iron, water, earth, coal, copper, silver, and gold, and made some flesh out of them. Footnote again. This indicates the creation of animal bodies from the elements and living creatures from sperm. Look at that and see, O foolish one. These works are particular to such a one that all this land together with all its parts is under his miraculous power and is submissive to his every wish.
Jazakallah khair. The best part, like the part that I like best with your reading, you keep it in a slow phase. Read it one by one. That's great. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair.
Inshallah, we'll have others that help as well.
So let's start, inshallah. So any candidate to take the lead in the discussion? Start with her or his ideas. Aisha, would you like to share your ideas? No? Okay. If you like it, just please go ahead and any other candidates? Abdurrahman, would you like to give a crude summary of what you understood? Like it doesn't have to be any detail of what's going on, kind of stuff.
Not a summary, but something that I found interesting, and I'm sure you found very interesting, is the example of the grapevine that he was talking about. Just the way the methodology he uses when he looks at a grapevine and he sees something which itself is so powerless and delicate, it throws its arms around other plants or trees and and sees like meaning there, sees like compassion there, I don't know, sees a lot of emotions and things that you probably don't see normally. So I think that's like the 22nd word. He's saying, look at the world and look at all this meaning behind things.
Alhamdulillah. And this being said, as a general, if we look at what the text is, apparently the text is giving us a parable, a metaphor by these two friends trying to tell us some truth behind this story. Because he started by saying that two men were washing in a pool as if these are some twins born from the same mother. They were washing in the same water inside the mother's womb, whatever. I was like having trouble to understand the very first sentence, like why they're washing in a pool. So it makes sense what you said. To the point that Abdurrahman attracted our attention, as if now the grapevine is also becoming a parable of a truth. So as if a parable inside another parable, because in this parable, he's trying to show us by giving some examples with the footnotes. He says that, well, by this, what I mean is a grapevine. And when we look at a grapevine, actually, we should see something further, because grapevine itself is also a parable of some truth. So going back to the verse, so God sets forth parables for men so that they bear them in mind. So as if grapevine, don't take grapevine as grapevine. Likewise, we can read this story as the author is telling us a story. And this is what they said for Quran, right? They say, well, this is the mythology of the previous. But Quran shouldn't be read as if it is telling us a story for the sake of telling a story. Likewise, we shouldn't be reading Nursi as if he's telling us a story.
along the same line, I shouldn't look at the existence just for the sake of existence. Grapevine is not grapevine. It is to, as author was saying, it's an unconscious creature which is doing very conscious acts, which shows that there is a conscious being behind everything. So as if this text from beginning to end is showing this layered parables in existence.
So I have an overall question about this 22nd word, at least the first station. So it seems like the friend, the bad friend, he asked for proofs the proofs demonstrating, I'm reading from the text, that this world, which is like a palace, and country, which is like town, has a single maker, and that is only he who runs and administers everything. Here ask for such a proof. So why out of sudden he's studying this in the 22nd word? Like after this point, didn't we study already like how everything being created by a single creator? I mean, I don't have any problem with these sections or the words being independent of each other, each telling us different. I don't have any problem with that. I'm asking if, just in case I'm missing a coherent ordering of the sections. Or maybe I just misremember that we didn't study this aspect before. I just remember it because we discuss it every time we discuss any topic.
So as far as I remember, this is the first time he is studying that topic in this much of depth.
Okay.
Because in the 23rd, he will revisit the topic of belief, which he did in the first 8 words, but those 8 words were short words. So as if now he is, because the 22nd word is going to be a long one, and in here he is revisiting the same topic, but with a more in-depth analysis.
Okay. So any other initial comments before we start studying the text in deep? Okay, let's start from the beginning then. So as far as I understand, like he's talking about 2 friends, 2 brothers, 2 sisters, 2 men, whatever. And they found themselves in a strange land. And then trying to make sense of it, at least one of them. And the other says, I don't need to make sense of anything. I just take my time to have some pleasure. And the other one warns him. So when for the first time, when I was reading a story or such examples from Nursi, they sound, I don't know, very caricaturized. Would you say caricaturized or?
Sure.
Okay. Versions of reality, like there's no such reality. But now when I read it again, I don't know, getting old or tired of work, I guess. It is not that hard to see that I find myself in a strange land. Like every day when I take a step outside, I find myself in a strange land and trying to make sense of it, a sense of things sometimes, and sometimes I don't. And whenever I don't make sense of things that I see, I get some punishment, as the friend is warning. I am being punished. So he's right, warning his friend. And even the dialogue between the 2, I guess, like at least that I had a few fresh experiences like going things in exactly this order. With other people or with myself, I'm saying that, don't you see, there's something there? And I get the response, well, what are you talking about? Like, there's nothing there. You're just making up. It's as clear as he's saying. There's something there, and then the response is, no, there's nothing there. I don't see it. Or you're just making up it. You're making up a story. I don't think things are being ruled. I don't think there's someone watching me, or just the exact same responses. So yeah, these are my initial thoughts.
So, I guess we talked about the verses, right? The initial verses, how it might be relating to this text. I guess in the first paragraph, yes, this existence being like a palace or like a city, as if it's all talking about seeing some sort of a pattern in existence, some sort of an order. So if somebody denies order or pattern in existence, then living a life, let's say having a job, and then denying order in the existence is a self-contradiction. If a person is, let's say, not living because if I have a job, then that means I am already an expert of a pattern. So if no matter what your job is, even if it is the simplest job that you do, it requires following some sort of a pattern. So it would be a self-contradiction. Thus, this order is, I guess, in the first paragraph, is being taken to the very center. But in this second paragraph and onward, the thing that was interesting for me is the conversation between these two people, as if one is trying to tell a message to the other. Because the second guy is indifferent and says, don't touch me, don't mess up with me. I don't want to think about this stuff. I don't see any order. And since the first guy keeps insisting, he says, okay, then prove me, otherwise just go away, don't mess up with me. But the first guy is saying that if you, because of your ignorance and what was said, obstinacy, we are going to be punished. This is why, as if he's trying to force this guy in a sense. Maybe, I don't know if force is the right word, but he's really chasing after the guy. What would be the truth of this? Why is this first person is not saying that, well, okay, if you don't want, you don't want, I don't care. And I invited you, because the first paragraph is good enough. Like the one which start, one of the two men said to his friend. So he made his invitation. In the third paragraph, the guy says, well, I don't believe it. Then he might have very well said, well, I cannot, if you are not willing to take, I cannot force you to take. You go to your way, I go to my way. But he didn't do that. And what's the point? Why is author forming his example in such a way that the first person is a little bit insisting? And what is it that in reality do we observe that for a denier to be insisting on denial, what sort of a punishment or, I don't know, calamity will, so what does he say, some disaster fall upon a believer? What does that mean? Because time in, time out in our discussions, I remember as if a conversation was coming to the point saying that, well, you cannot force anybody. And if that person is not a receiver, you cannot really give. And as if it might sound like, well, you invite once, if the guy doesn't show any interest, okay, you go to your way, I'll go to my way. Or even, we can even argue that there are verses in Quran which says, your religion is to you, my religion is to me. So where's this sort of a conversation is located?
Following the same logic, the first guy who claimed to be indifferent, he could leave as well. Like if it was really a pushing, or if it's like a relationship based on force, he could just choose not to listen and just leave. It's a West country, right? He doesn't have to stay with the first guy. So, at least to me, it seems like, you know, they having a conversation that both parties are willing to continue. Yes, there is the style of the intelligent friend sounds like he's pushing or he's forcing, but it's just being, I don't know, like there is a style of insult there, right? It's obvious. He says,
foolish man.
Yeah, the foolish man, this obstinacy of yours will push me and a lot of others. Your obstinacy has reached the degree of lunacy. There's such, you know, there's this style like of being frank, let's say. But is there any like a forceful attitude? That I'm not sure.
Yeah, when I say force, maybe it might be understood as with the sword or something like that.
Or even with the argument, please.
But this person is, it's not like, well, if this guy doesn't have any interest, why are you wasting your time with that person? It's not that sort of an attitude that this second guy has. As if he really wants this person to understand something. So he isn't simply offering it once. If he doesn't take, well, okay, never mind. He's not that much relaxed, at least. And even he is showing some sort of reasoning behind that, saying that if you stay like this, I'm going to get harm out of that. And this is the second question. What is that? What sort of a harm do I get if this person stays as he is?
So then I take it like what you said is the first intelligent man feels the responsibility of telling the truth. Even the other party is not willing to take it. He just feels the responsibility. He says the other one do not accept, he continues telling it. But I guess, again, the reason that the communication continues because at the end, the second foolish guy says, either prove me or leave me alone. Like he chooses to kind of continue, like, or let's say he opens the door for continuation. Otherwise, first guy is not like, no, I will tell you even if you don't listen. You know, even if you sleep, I will just wake you up to listen me. I don't think that's the case either. But he's definitely, yes, you're right. Like, even if the other one is not willing to, he still has the responsibility. He still feel obliged to tell the truth. Yeah.
As if, now I'm thinking about, because there are, of course, various verses in Quran, and we need to take it within a balanced meaning. Well, I was thinking about Surah Al-Asr, where he says, Wal-Asr, so, Inna al-insana lafi khusr, so all the people are in loss. Illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat, except those that has iman, that do iman, wa amilu salihat, that do righteous actions. Wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr, so, and do, as if tell the truth, or no, not even tell, invite or suggest the truth, and do it with patience. I don't know if this is somewhat related to that as well. I mean, this being patient with, because the first man is seemingly patient with the second man.
What it's there it says suggesting truth and suggesting patience, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I see what you...
Not with patience,
yeah.
Okay.
I see what you say, and I agree with what you say, because I remember some other places there which suggest that, be, how to say, consistent with reminding and so on.
Okay. So
But yes,
that's something that's...
no, but the point you made, it's really important, I guess, because I agree, like sometimes we confuse with forcing and feeling the responsibility. So yes, we don't have any right to force someone to do something, and we are even ordered not to do it. But it doesn't change the fact that you have to continue searching for the opportunities to tell the truth. Like your responsibility does not cease or does not disappear just because the other one is not willing to. Mohammed, please go ahead. I just seen your hand.
Okay, brother. The comments on the story, it made me think of the beginning of the story, the conversation. The conversation is not related to like how to use the things in practical sense. Like don't use it in this way, but that way. It is directly related to the ownership of the things. It starts in that way. That's why I think it ends up with the question of then prove me. And I found it very interesting and pleasing.
Jazakallah, thank you for reminding. Yeah, that's a great point. So, like when we talk about making sense of things, the author is not referring to, this is a great phone. You can make calls with it. It's more about who regulates or who owns this phone, or who put the laws, I don't know, so that you can use this phone to make a call, let's say.
And for the second question, what do you think? The obstinacy of yours will push me and others into trouble or disaster. What does that mean?
Any comments on that? Could you just repeat the question again so that everyone will clearly understand?
So this first guy, the intelligent guy, was telling to the second one, because of your obstinacy, so I will quote, it says, "This obstinacy of yours will push me and a lot of others into disaster. It sometimes happens that a whole country is laid waste because of one ill-mannered person." Somebody does a mistake and the whole city is being just annihilated, or at least this is how I'm reading it superficially, because of the mistake of the single person. So he's saying that you are among us, so we are as if living in the same city, and you misbehaving might cause me also, and also others, to receive a disaster. What does that mean?
So he says, I cannot be indifferent to your unbelief.
Yes.
Any comments on that? Okay, thank you, awesome. That was a great point. I don't know, the first thing comes to my mind, like I'm just thinking in the practical sense, like when I'm with such people, let's say the people who denies that there's an order, there's a purpose in the creation, I also find myself like disturbed. Because, I don't know, maybe I'm weak, I'm easily pushed by such ideas, or pulled by such ideas. And it is really easy for me to be lost. And imagine that you live in such a society, every signs around telling you that there's no point in life. It's about who's stronger and who's weaker. And you start living your life like this. When everyone around you constantly telling you that you have to survive, you start to find ways to survive, struggle for surviving. I think this is what comes to my mind. That such ideas, like, they don't stay with the people who think them. They spread so easily.
So then can we say that some of the things are, at least I need to be principally against. I shouldn't have any room of, well, let it be. For example, if thinking about today's society, in any of the countries, especially the country that we live in, so is it laundering tax, like not paying tax properly, even if it is small? So once you start closing your eyes to this sort of a problem, it just propagates, because this person does it and nobody punishes the other one, then I start feeling like, well, why shall I pay? I'm going to pay 10, 20, 30% of my income for what? My neighbor, he just bought his second car. So then this sort of an idea is propagating. I guess this is what really harming the society in general. So this neglect of one person, because since the beginning he was talking about the order, and now this person is going against order, and while doing that, of course, he has to deny the order, because he's going against order, and human cannot really do that. So for this, what we do, we say there's no order. By denying order, we are not really contradicting anything then, by just doing whatever we want. Being disorderly, I can only do it if I deny the existence of order. So as if the author in here is implying, I am categorically against this attitude. Because this attitude of you, if I be easygoing with your attitude, for myself and also for the people around me, I'm as if saying, yeah, this is equally okay. Yeah, I have some conclusions about this existence, like there is order, but this other person who denies the order, I am saying, well, it's another idea. It is an equal, as if it is equally true idea. I'm giving this message to myself and also to the others. Instead, I should be saying, no, this idea is a false idea in itself, and if it spreads, which it can easily spread, because corruption is easier to spread than constructing things, then definitely it's going to harm all of us. And we do see that in the society. In today's Western society, for instance, Western society, everywhere is Western society anyways, but this corruption of the divine message, or ignorance of divine message, is putting us into this loneliness, or everybody is trying to maximize their own gain. This sort of a thing is being established as a result. Everybody is alone, everybody is enemy of each other. So we do see its harm everywhere. So I guess in here, when the author is putting this, ideologically, I should be against this problem and see where this problem take me to, take people to. So this is why, for me, I should remind me that there is no way that I'm going to be easygoing with disorderliness in existence or denial. And also, when I see such a manner somewhere, I should be trying to fix it, because it is against the order which I am set to follow in this existence. As if it is my duty to follow and preserve the order. And this person is openly going against order. At least I should put my stand, locate myself, saying that this is bad, you shouldn't be doing this.
This reminded me, like at least the tradition in, let's say, Islamic culture, that people take some certain other ideologies or other, let's say, the attitudes towards the creation acceptable, but some others not acceptable. Like, for instance, people would say, oh, the Christianity or Judaism, it's also acceptable. Like, we can live with that. But with that unbelief, pure unbelief that, no, we cannot live with that. So it's like, if there's an acceptance of an order or a purpose or the meaning of the creation, whether it is right or wrong, if they are searching for such an order, such a meaning, then yes, we are okay with that. Like, they have right to be wrong. They're searching for their order. And you accept it, quote unquote, as, what is it called?
Acceptable?
Acceptable, okay. You accept it as unacceptable. But when it comes to the anarchy in belief, something like the atheism, for instance, you say, no, this is unacceptable. Not because it's, let's say, forbidden, because even with the forbidden things, like, you don't have any right to interfere with people, right? Like, you cannot, for instance, tell someone not to, I mean, you can say, tell someone not to drink, but the punishment part is like, you cannot interfere with it. It's his or her problem. But things like the atheism, let's say, it's not something you can be okay with. It's not, let's say, part of diversity that you can be okay with it. Okay, of course, again, speaking in terms of ideas, like, it doesn't mean that you can push someone or force someone not to atheist. You can try, you cannot do that. But at least in your mind, you shouldn't be okay with that. It's not something you can accept. It's not something, it's not a mistake that you can be okay with. So other people are very quiet today. Oh, Faria, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. I was also thinking about that point that was brought up right now by Brother Yusuf in terms of if one of the friend is in error while the other one is looking to get the meaning of thing and is motivating the other one as well, then why does like the whole ship has to sink, right? I mean, there's a lot to think about here, but I was thinking like practically, you know, what we encounter, experiences, and I'm just the analogy, and let's work it out together, right? Can be a start to understanding this better. So let's say in an organization, you have different departments, right? And there are yearly audits, and somehow the organization got audited and they found out some wrongdoings at a certain department. Then obviously what happens is the whole organization gets liable for it. And guess what? It puts the whole organization in jeopardy, right? Just one, maybe I would say just 10% of the organization, you know, did something wrong, and it just puts the whole organization in jeopardy. And then I was thinking, yeah, I mean, like we're so connected, everything here, like on an individual level, like creatures, everything, we're so interconnected that if something fails, if there's a malfunction just on one side of the thing, then everything goes down. And I'm like, wait, yeah, obviously it seems unfair. I'm like, hello, you know, what does it have to do with me? I didn't do anything wrong. But then I'm thinking, or one rotten apple rots the others. Yeah, that's true. Good one, Asim. So either we're failing. I mean, so I'm thinking like two friends, right? Jack and Jill, right? So Jack is in error and Jill is on the right way. So why does Jack and Jill both have to go, down the drain? I mean, it seems unfair, right? But then I'm thinking there's something going wrong. Like one is failing. Either Jill is not presenting the case or in a convincing way, right? It's all connected. Yeah, so that's all I wanted to share. Maybe we can work out with this one.
Thank you, Faria. So you mentioned a story, Jack and Jill, I guess, that I haven't heard. But anyway, you can tell us about it maybe another time when we have time for the story. Oh, she said she made it up. Okay. Anyway, so let's continue. And the intelligent, is it intelligent? Yeah, intelligent friend. His reply is trying to prove things. Like he sounds like angry at the beginning, but then he starts proving things. That's also interesting. So I guess like being angry ideologically, like I am angry against atheism, doesn't mean that you can or you should also respond or communicate in an angry way, or you just cut the head and then go ahead. Like his response is proving things. Should we start reading the first proof? If there's no other points about it at the beginning, Abdurrahman? Should we? Okay. The first proof, he says, a hidden hand is working within all these works for something which has not even an ounce of strength, something as small as seed is raising a load of thousands of pounds, and something that does not have even a particle of consciousness is performing extremely wise and purposeful works. That means they are not working by themselves, but that a hidden possessor of power is causing them to work. If they were independent, it would necessitate all the works which we see everywhere in this land being miracles, and everything to be a wonder-working marvel, and that is nonsense. So this part I don't understand. So what does it mean with the last two sentences? If they were independent, it would necessitate everything to be miracle, and that is nonsense.
If there was not a hidden hand behind them, hidden possessor, everything would be like hocus pocus.
So the reason I'm having difficulty, we also say, I also say that everything in the creation is miracle. Like in Arabic, mujize, make you ajil, right? Without any other solution other than referring to the God. So is it another word that he used for miracle here?
The same word you said.
So what should I understand from that? Can I take it? So with the miracle, that when I use miracle, for instance, what I mean is the quality you see here has to belong to someone who can have this quality. So it can, let's say, I look at the cat and her kittens, and I see the compassion there, and I say this is a miracle because this cat cannot have such a compassion. Thus, I have to attribute this compassion to one who can have such a compassion. Whatever. But with this, when he says miracle here, you're already cutting a connection with this one, and you see some qualities there which are miraculous, but at the same time you're saying that there is no one that you can attribute this quality. So the quality goes to, I don't know, the void, but it is there. So it is nonsense.
So going with the example within the paragraph itself, let's say this grapevine. So if he says if there is no one behind this grapevine, then, so because in the last two sentences he talks about the action of grapevine being throwing its hands around things. So this is the action that the grapevine does. So the grapevine itself becomes wonder-working thing. It is the one that makes miracles. And the miracle that it does is this action itself. So it is saying that then what you are claiming is this grapevine is a mere miracle maker. And the action is miracle itself. But now the doer of this action is the grapevine. Okay. But in the first place, they were not conscious. There were no consciousness you were observing in there. So to a unconscious being, now you are attributing this miracle-like action. This is why I guess he says, because he's using the word of miracle in the understanding of the second guy. According to your perception, it has to be a miracle.
I see. After all, which part do you need clarification?
No, it's good.
Okay.
In this paragraph, again, the author said that means they are not working. So he is training the second friend in how to read the metaphors. Like how do you read existence? How do you take existence as a parable? So he showed the person some pattern in the existence, and then he said that don't take it on the face value. It means something. What it means is this. Otherwise, it will need to be as such.
The second proof, just as a reminder, these are the proofs demonstrating that this world, which is like a palace, and a country which is like town, has a single maker, and that it is only he who runs and administers everything. He is completely free of all deficiency. This maker who does not appear to us sees us and everything and hears our words. All his works are miracles and marvels. All these creatures whom we see but whose tongues we do not understand are his officials. So is it a issue with translation, or, I mean, it seems like it means something. He says, and country which is like town. No, in the original also it says, bir şehir gibi şu memleketin. So just exactly the same. The country, just like a town, is like a town. So what do you understand? I just realized when I was reading again. So to me, it sounds like it's a huge country, but everything is so interconnected. Everything seems like everyone seems to know each other, just like a small town. So that's what I understood when I was reading again. But there are any other comments?
Maybe it means that each country is unique too, Like it's not just the same country.
Each country is unique?
Yeah, because I guess one town is always different from another town.
Okay.
So he says that the world is a palace, but within the palace there are towns, I guess.
I see.
So it's not just the same thing over and over.
So going back to proofs, yes, these are the proofs demonstrating all these the things that I just read. So the second proof, come, look carefully at the things which adorn all these plains, fields, and dwellings. There are marks on each telling. There are marks on each telling of that hidden one. Simply each gives news of him like a seal or stamp. Look in front of your eyes, what does he make from 1 ounce of cotton? And there's a footnote here, I will not read, we already read it. See how many rolls of cloth, fine linen, and flowered material have come out of it. See how many sugar delights and round sweets are being made. If thousands of people like us were to clothe themselves in them and eat them, they would still be sufficient. And look, he has taken a handful of iron, water, earth, coal, copper, silver, and gold, and made some flesh out of them. Look at that and see, O foolish one. These works are particular to such a one that all this land together with all its parts is under his miraculous power and is submissive to his every wish.
The first footnote is nice, and since now it is the springtime, Philadelphia is very beautiful in spring.
We invite everyone.
We invite everyone to Philadelphia, if not in spring, to the end of spring at least. So we were in the streets all over the place, there are all different sorts of flowers. And when you go to a single tree and just touch the petals of the flowers, you feel how delicately woven these petals of the...
What is petal?
Petal
Sorry.
is the leaves of a flower.
Oh, okay.
And the leaves are a different fabric. The flower is a different fabric. And there are all different sorts of fabrics being woven nowadays in the springtime. And just if they were only a fabric, it would be very beautiful and magnificent. But they also serve some other purpose than just covering up something, because this is why we use a fabric. But as if the leaves are also the energy sources for the trees, whatever. So, but such a high-tech thing is going on in there, and it's coming out of a seed or out of because 2 weeks ago those trees were all dead. Today we were walking with a friend, and we realized that the very same route we were walking, last week it was just naked. Today it was sheltering us from sunlight. It was already like an umbrella. Within a week, so many leaves were woven, and with beautiful colors, different shapes. So the author is attracting our attention to the simple, mundane existence out there. So look, if you go to AC Moore to buy a simple cloth for covering up
It's a store for buying crafts and stuff.
So for covering your cushions, you pay some money, you first touch it and say, this is a good woven, whatever. So how about these all different sorts of cloth that is being woven by those apparently stupid plants? So what does that mean? Because the author is saying that all the things are marks, there are marks on each telling of that hidden one. If I pay attention, because when you buy a cotton or cloth, on the edge of it, the maker of the fabric is written on the end part of each part. I mean, if you have ever bought some fabric for making your own cloth. Likewise, author is saying that if you pay attention, you can see the mark of the hidden one in every single petal, every single leaf of a tree. You will see the signatures. And the signature in here is, as he is claiming, whoever is making this tree, this leaf, this petal is the maker of the whole spring. It has to be the same maker because there's a unique signature in them which belongs to the maker of all.
He's also saying that, when he gives this example of cotton, just from cotton, he makes all these different things, like using one single thing to build all these different things. And then combining all these different things to make a single thing. So everything from one, from everything one. It's I guess shows how everything is related to each other, how everything is inseparable from each other, and how the one who makes all this has to be one who can control everything, because you cannot put some boundaries in the creation and say that, okay, this part is independent, so they can work by themselves, or they can be governed by someone, and this another part is independent again, so it can be governed by yet another one. There's no such creation, he says, like everything is so connected to each other. Even these connections goes to such a limit that from the minerals, or from the elements, basic elements, comes flesh, the living organisms. So it's almost absurd, like the connections between things. A living being, a human body, or animal body, whatever, it's made of iron, water, earth, coal, copper, silver, gold. It doesn't make sense, like when you say it that way. So the links between things, it's like to the extent that it's really hard to imagine. So the control over things, it has to be so immense. Any comments? Okay, we have a really quiet audience today. Alhamdulillah. I'm not saying Alhamdulillah just because, everything is good. Not because I prefer this, but
today in the Jummah, Khatib was saying that don't talk too much.
That's true. See, obviously he was not referring to me, because now I have to talk too much. Okay, then let's continue with the third proof, inshallah. Abdurrahman, it's your turn then, because...
Yeah, let's change it up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Third proof. Come look at these mobile works of art. Footnote. This alludes to animals and humans, for since animals are tiny indexes of the world, and man is a miniature sample of the universe, whatever there is in the world, a sample of it is in man. Come look at these mobile works of art. Each has been fashioned in such a way that it is simply a miniature sample of the huge palace. Whatever there is in the palace, it is found in these tiny mobile machines. Is it at all possible that someone other than the palace's maker could come and include the wondrous palace in a tiny machine? Also, is it at all possible that although he has included a whole world in a machine the size of a box, there could be anything in it that was purposeless or could be attributed to chance? That means that however many skillfully fashioned machines you can see, Each is like a seal of that hidden one. Rather, each is like a herald or proclamation. Through their tongues of disposition, they are saying, we are the art of one who can make this entire world of ours as easily and simply as he created us.
So this is strange because, he says, you will see the miniature copy of the universe in the man. Or he says the animals are tiny indexes of the world. So this is strange because people use this very same proof, let's say, to claim that everything happens by themselves. Like you hear that, there is the same laws, for instance, the same natural laws taking care of the black holes, and the same laws taking care of what's inside the human. So whatever you see in the universe is the inside the human. Like it's only simple, basic, some rules. Everything is made up a few rules and it works everywhere. So since they are simple, quote unquote, like you don't need to explain anything. All you need to do, just show that whatever happens in Yusuf, the same thing happens in everywhere else. But now he says there's a proof that there's one who governs things. Any comments?
I like the way he says through their tongues of disposition, they are saying we are the art of the one. Before the sentence. Rather, each is like a herald or proclamation. Through their tongues of disposition, they are saying we are the art of one who can make this entire world of ours as easily and simply as he created us. So this herald part is so interesting for me. It's as if a herald is proclaiming with shouting out something. So in here he is saying that although they look silent, they are not silent. It is that you don't hear, but you can hear. So you just need to have a trained ear, then you will start that it is shouting out at you such a truth. Because this book, unless and until I learn reading, although the book is shouting a truth, I can be oblivious to what it is saying. But once you learn reading, you say, oh, there's a human shouting something, and he's so much sure that he says third proof. And as if with his utmost certainty shouting the truth that he's so sure about, he's saying that the same thing applies to the existence. They are not like unconscious or not. It's not that this existence is lonely or forsaken. No, it is very lively. Everybody is lively, speaking or singing a song, but you need to train your ears to hear what's going on in here.
And the part, like you said, it's not left alone. So I get at the beginning, like not at the very beginning, but just before the first proof, he says he is completely free of all deficiency. This maker who does not appear to us sees us and everything, and hears our words. All his works are miracles and marvels, and all these creatures are his officials. So he sees us and everything and hears our words. I guess these are really important things because I was asking the question why we need these proofs or why we are trying to prove something. Yes, you can take it as you trying to convince your friend, but when it comes to myself, like why do I need these proofs? And I guess he says that at the beginning that This is what you need. You want to be heard. You want to be seen. You don't want to be left alone. You want to know that there is someone, he sees me all the time, he takes care of me. He watches me over. And he hears my words. So my words are not, goes to void. They're not going to be wasted. Such a life would be misery, wouldn't it? Like, you're just doing things for nothing. Like, there is no, like a karşılık response. Not response, but anyway, no problem. So you articulate things which are not heard. You don't want to live in such a world. Your feelings, your desires, just going nowhere, going to nothing. It's just wasted. You don't like it. You want someone who hears you. And now this tells you that you're not alone. There's someone behind everything that sees you, hears you, watches you. So this is not only about convincing someone or proving that the stupid guy is wrong, but it's about that, like, this is what you need, this is what you want. Muhammad says outcome. Oh, okay. Yes. Thank you. Any other points with the comments with the third proof? Or anything before that?
And how about this specifically, since he's talking about animals, or in that sense, human? What does it mean that human is a miniature of the universe or the existence? I guess it's a simple question.
I'm going back to what I said about that people using the same thing, for instance, for display. That is what I can say, like, regarding your question is, when you look at a human being, whatever take place there is the summary of entire like the laws or the rules or order that I observe in the universe. That's, I guess, the simplest way, let's say, the scientific point of view, like how the universe is within the human being. And so I guess this is important because author says that, yes, like we tend to think that we can divide the creation into simple parts and then pretend that we explain everything. And since they are simple, the only tiny things that left to be explained. But it says that this is not true, that the simple things that you think, they're the entire universe. Like every rule, every order, or every law that you can think of, the simplest one requires the rest of the universe to be true. So if you want to fit something inside the man or inside any animal to explain the behavior of the animal, you have to fit the entire universe there. There is no such thing as simple rules or simple components. As he was saying at the second proof, he said, look at the cotton, just ounce of a cotton. It seems like a simple thing, but it is linen, it's the cloths, it's the things that you wear. It's everything you interact with. So there is no such thing as simple cotton. There is no such thing as a simple atom. It's the entire universe there.
I guess, especially in the case of human, there's also immaterial aspects of human, which is the ability to see, and also ability to see something beyond my eyes also. By default, let's say, or from birth, everybody is given eyes, but human is also given the quality to say, well, what would a black hole look like, let's say, since this is our fancy topic nowadays. And since my naked eye cannot see it, can I see it with radio waves? Or what is under my skin. So let's look at it with an X-ray. So now I am trying to see my bones without cutting my flesh either. So even I can improve my eyesight. I am given the ability to improve this eyesight. So human is given whatever sort of sight I can imagine of, also meaning that I am given the imagination. I am given the qualities to explore in the existence. So whatever is in the existence truly, I am given this miniature of it in me, which says, go and explore. I put, if you like, one-to-one match between whatever is out there in the existence. I give you the ability to go and find out about it. So everything, as if everything is inviting me to be explored, because he said everything is a herald proclaiming something, and somebody is speaking and says, as if I put an ear to you, an eye to you, with which you can be the receiver of that message. So whatever is out there, I put you capacity in you so that you will be able to understand it. So as if the speaker outside is the one who put all these receivers in me. And using the Quranic words, so we taught man all the names, as we studied in the 20th word, I guess. So the one that created the existence, the one that is manifesting all the names in the existence, is the one that make me to be able to understand all the names. It cannot be otherwise.
And I guess this also teaches us how we understand, or how we, let's say, define things. Like you see something in the universe and you know what it is because there's a sample of it in you. You just match them and you say, okay, this is the things that I have. Like what is mercy is, I see something there, a quality there, and there's a like instance of it in me, whatever it means. I have let's say, the measure of it, and I say, okay, this is mercy. I see, I don't know, the apple out there, and I call it as apple because there's an instance of it in me, like which can taste it, which can, see the color and so on. And I see, okay, this is the thing that, I have an example in me, which I call as apple. So defining things is by making a match between what you have, what you are given, as you are saying, like making a match between the receiver in you and the signal out there. Any more comments from our online participants?
They're not there. I think they all left.
Oh, you mean they just turn on the computer or whatever they use and then...
So,
Alhamdulillah, go ahead, please.
So if you tempted me, I fell for the temptation. No, I was wondering if you can read. I don't have the text in front of me, unfortunately, but this herald sentence that Yusuf read, can you read it again? The one with the word herald.
Sure. That means that however many skillful fashion machines you can see, each is like a seal of that hidden one. Rather, each is like a herald or proclamation. Rather, each is like a herald or proclamation. Through their tongues of disposition, they are saying, we are the art of one who can make this entire world of ours as easily and simply as he created us.
Yes. So I may be completely off here, but when in this section, this idea that human being is like a small universe, or everything that is in the universe, a sample of it is a human being. So what does that mean? I guess I was also thinking, and maybe one thing towards the end of the sentence where this, what let's say, ease of creation. So it seems like the text is saying, if I'm understanding right, that in the sense that the universe as a whole, a universe, as an interconnected whole of parts that are for each to exist as it is, to work as it is, it needs something else to also exist as it does and work with it. And then for that to exist, something else needs to be as it is. And all these different parts are effortlessly, integrated, and they are brought into existence all together, with each one needing the other to be what, and that this is easily done. All these parts are brought together as easily to, and that what the result is a universe which functions in a meaningful way, which everything is doing its work for a purpose, with a function, meaningfully, and the whole is meaningful. And so in this sense of this ease of bringing these distinct parts that all need the other to be a certain way to work, this ease of bringing things into existence in this way, into this one meaningful whole, maybe one aspect in which, in one way in which human being is like this cosmos, is that all its various physical and non-physical aspects are brought together into one meaning, in this one unity, one consciousness, one whole, which is the human being. Easily, all these different parts of the human are brought together easily, without anything going wrong, so anyway, I was thinking, like, in what sense is the human being the universe? And maybe one thing is that they both equally demonstrate and equally proclaim that they are these unified, meaningful wholes made up of parts, so many different aspects and parts that are all effortlessly brought together, which could not bring, so consciousness and memory and feelings and, all the physical things that go with it, all sort of brought together into this one meaningful whole. Just like in the universe, we see all these different aspects and meanings brought together easily, effortlessly. So I was just trying to focus on the part of the ease and effortlessness that at the end of the sentence he mentions, trying to think of. So I don't know what, maybe you guys can add something to it, or maybe help me understand more about what is it about human being that it is like the cosmos, and why is that important? What do I lose if I don't make that analogy? What do I gain if I try to notice the analogy between the universe and the human? So I'm just still thinking about this.
Great questions. Alhamdulillah, thanks a lot. Any first attempts? Like, what kind of world we live, or what kind of life we have when we realize that there's this connection between the human, myself, and the entire universe? What kind of satisfaction or peace it brings, or what kind of hardship or misery it introduces when I do not realize that?
I am sensing a sort of an irony in this last sentence, as if it is saying that he should be able to make the universe as easy as he makes us. And when I look at myself, so as if he is saying that, because this is how the argument was built up, the universe is out there, which is like a single body in perfect harmony, but it's a huge factory, if you like. But in its miniature, still functioning, is being put in a much smaller scale somewhere. So as if, which one is easier or harder, if you ask the question? I mean, making a miniature of the same thing which is functioning seems to be a little bit tougher, like from human point of view. Because larger is you have still more space. Your hand is not going to be mixed up. Like you can build a large clock, and you can make the 1/10 scale of the same large clock. Everything is functioning the same, but now your fingers are all going to be mixing up as if. So there's this sort of an irony in here. It is saying that as if the same qualities are required to make us, because it's the same clock that is being made, if we take it as the analogy of a clock. But whatever is required to make us is required to make the existence. And it shouldn't be like more or less. One is smaller, so it should be easier. The other one is larger. So there shouldn't be this sort of a difference of degree, as if. This is what I'm understanding from here. As if the author is hinting toward saying that it should be the same for the maker. There shouldn't be any difference of strength required. There shouldn't be any level of knowledge. This one requires less knowledge, this one requires more knowledge. As if he's saying that the maker needs to, it should be the same for him, both, implying he has to be absolute. But he's telling it as if in a more, giving us a hint from our feelings. He shouldn't be putting more effort for making the larger one, or less effort.
So look at yourself and you'll realize who's making all of this. And going back to Farah's question, I don't know how satisfactory it would be, but like I see a lot of things around that I cannot make sense, that bothers me. I don't like, I find, let's say, ugly. And there are lots of such things. But when I realize that I have the entire universe in me, or let's say I can, all these connections with the universe, everything there has an instance here. And I realize that the things that I don't like, the things that I cannot make sense is in me as well, like actually like they're showing me something about myself. When I see injustice out there, I'm experiencing the injustice in me that I make. When I see something ugly there, I'm experiencing nothing but the ugliness in me. Or just the other way around. I guess it makes my life and my experiences are more, let's say, solid, more meaningful, more purposeful. Everything there is there to remind me something about myself. So there's no such thing as, I don't know, like out of nowhere or out of context. If I look inside myself, I will see why they are there. And another, like if I take the other way, everything in the universe is waiting for me to be discovered, waiting for me to be understood. Everything, no exception. So I have the potentiality at least to make sense of everything out there. I can explore even the faraway stars or black holes. But there's no limit. Any other comments on that? Or any other parts? Otherwise, we can read the fourth proof and then conclude the discussion. Okay, let's go with the fourth proof.
Fourth proof. O my stubborn friend, come, I shall show you something even stranger. Look, all these works and things in this land have changed and are changing. They do not stop in any one state. Note carefully that each of these lifeless bodies and unfeeling boxes has taken on the form of being absolutely dominant. Quite simply, it is as though each rules all the others. Look at this machine next to us. Footnote: the machine indicates fruit-bearing trees, for they bear on their slender branches hundreds of workbenches and factories, and weave, adorn, and cook wonderful leaves, flowers, and fruits, and stretch them out to us. And majestic trees like the pine and the cedar even set up their workbenches on dry rock and work. Look at this machine next to us. It is as though issuing commands. All the necessities and substances necessary for its adornment and functioning come hastening to us from distant places. Look over there. That lifeless body is as though beckoning. Footnote: this alludes to grains, seeds, and the eggs of flies. For example, a fly leaves its eggs on the leaves of the elm. Suddenly, the huge tree turns its leaves into a mother's womb and a cradle for the eggs, and into a store full of food like honey. Simply, in that way, the tree, which is not fruit-producing, produces fruits-bearing spirits. Look over there, that lifeless body is as though beckoning. It makes the largest body serve it and work in its own workplace. Make further analogies in the same way. Simply, everything subjugates to itself all the beings in this world. If you do not accept the existence of that hidden one, you have to attribute all his skills, arts, and perfections in the stones, earth, animals, and creatures resembling man everywhere in this land to the things themselves. In place of a single, wonder-working being, which your mind deems unlikely, you have to accept millions like him, who are both opposed to one another and similar, and one within the other, so they do not cause confusion everywhere and the order be spoiled. Whereas if two fingers meddle in a country, they cause confusion. For if there are two headmen in a village, or two governors in a town, or two kings in a country, the result is chaos. So what about an infinite, absolute ruler?
Any comments?
Sure, I'll go ahead.
Go, please.
So the other day I was looking at the mirror and I noticed my eyes and I was like, I can see I can see with these eyes, and somehow my lips are moving. I just felt like I have no idea how that's happening. I have no control over them, yet these things are working so perfectly for me. And like he says here, everything subjugates to itself, all beings in this world. You know, somehow I'm subjugating these eyes and my mouth and something. And if I attribute that to myself, and I have even no clue how I could even control it, but if I attribute that to myself, and you attribute it to yourself, I mean, we'd have to be like, basically like infinitely powerful creatures. You're an infinitely powerful creature, I'm one, someone else is. It just makes no
Except
sense.
Yusuf.
Yes, he's less powerful. Yeah, we definitely are subjugating everything in the universe. That's a good way to look at it.
And it's really cute that you're looking at the mirror and realizing your eyes.
I don't know why.
He starts with the fact that everything is changing. And then he talks about everything is, each rules all the others. How he make the connections?
There is a constant dynamic change, and the change is within an order, as if the order is not static. The change is also the order, how shall we say? So it's not only space-wise order, there's also a time-wise order that's existing. So what does this require? Because the order is in a way that since everything is working in harmony with everything else, so he starts with a simple example of a tree. So as if tree is being served by the clouds, by the sun, as if everything, I mean, seemingly the tree is giving the command, okay, sun, rise, okay, clouds, bring me water. This sort of a behavior is as if out there, and then everything is subjugating to it. This is what we observe. I mean, everything is, but at the same time, the tree is being subjugated to something else, because a
tiny bee.
A tiny bee, yeah, a bee says, okay, produce me some fruit, whatever. So it's being subjugated, subjugating things to itself, and at the same time being subjugated to everything else. So the author is saying that what sort of a contradiction is that?
And this is so because of all these dynamic actions in the creation. Like you see all this dynamism, tree, cloud, water, the sun, but at the same time, in another moment, the tree, bee, fruits, or some other stuff, it's changing all the time. Okay.
So it is not that, well, this is how it had been since the beginning of time. No, this is something that's going to happen in the next moment. So the tree is going to give command to the sun to rise tomorrow, and to the cloud to bring water tomorrow. So it's not something, well, I cannot say that there's no need for such a subjugation. This is eternally how it is. No, change requires this sort of a, because it's in front of my eyes, this, as if this interaction is happening right now. I cannot say that this had been like this since forever. It's something that's taking place. And it's interesting how we ignore this part of it, that every moment requires, or it's happening, this sort of interaction is happening. We just close our eyes to that, saying that as if in the time domain, there's no need for such sort of subjugation or subjugating. And I guess this comes from the abstract fooling. We are fooling ourselves with abstract notions that the laws are eternal and the laws are acting. The author is as if now breaking this, saying that what do we mean by laws? Because a tree is, this is what I see, the tree is commanding the sun as if to rise. If I deny the unseen who is making all these, then I have to attribute this to the things themselves. And that means the tree has to give command to the sun, as if he is just shattering, or first of all making us question, what do I mean by laws are eternal and laws are governing that? What does that even mean? Because we hide behind the, we ignore that the order needs to be established every moment. This, when he said everything is changing at the beginning, as if we said, well, yeah, it is the order, it's the law that happens. No, there is this change. Change is constant, but it requires somebody putting active effort to keep it as such.
This also reminded me, like, all these talks about subjugating. Like, there are moments I feel as I'm subjugating things to myself. Like, I go to work, there are people, let's say, working under me. I feel so good, giving the orders, or I don't know, telling people what to do, what not to do. And then in this next moment, I find myself being subjugated to something else, someone else. It's constantly changing. Every time I see myself powerful, the next moment I will find myself the weakest. So, like, even if I say, oh, this is just, nonsense talk of the author, tree subjugating or giving order to cloud or sun. This is how I live my life. I feel claim that I give orders to some people, and then even if I try to deny that, I receive orders from some others. So being subjugated or subjugating is there always. So Muhammad, please go ahead, and then we can conclude with you, inshallah.
Yes, I would like to continue from where you, Birkan, left. I was thinking about almost the same thing, that the connection, after thinking about it a little bit, like the connection between the face of the earth and the rain, the time of the rain, the amount of the rain, the way that the raindrops come down. They are all, all qualities. But as soon as when I really simply say or take the rain as it is raining, I find it impossible for me to really understand anything from this text with that understanding of rain. So so I just want to share it, I guess.
Jazakallah khair for the great share. If there are any other comments, please go ahead. Otherwise, we can conclude here.
There's this last thing. I mean, the author is going to discuss this in depth when we go to the second station of this part. But in here, he is hinting, saying that because this stubborn friend wants to deny one such all-powerful creator, and he's saying, well, inherently you are accepting infinitely many such all-powerful creators. What sort of a contradiction you are in. So it's an interesting thing to face for ourselves. As if I don't want to accept, my ego doesn't want to accept one all-powerful, and then inherently I am becoming accepting infinitely many all-powerful which contradict each other. And since they contradict each other, I mean, think about it. In your work environment, if there are two bosses that you need to report to, and these two bosses are time to time contradicting each other, and you are the guy in the middle. So what sort of a arc you need to, as if you are walking over a rope, you need to keep balances of everything. Such a struggle it would be. So this is how I end up, though, because I don't want to accept the creator, one and only. Then I am finding myself as in the hands of mercy of infinitely many contradicting creators.
And this is not just an analogy, like this is the way we live. Whenever we forget that there's one creator full of compassion, the merciful creator, we end up with trying to please all the people or all the things around us who are mostly cruel, merciless, selfish. Whenever we forget that we are just a creature, like an artwork of the merciful, compassionate one, we try to please our friends, our wives, our boss, our children, our relatives, our father, mother, our president, the people on the street, or the animals. All of it has different, as you were saying, different, sometimes contradictory expectations. And you end up in a misery. Versus one creator, which is nothing but mercy, nothing but compassion.
سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة